The media is quick to assign blame whenever there's a mass shooting, but maybe they should be pointing their fingers at themselves? Also, this might be a record for the quickest we've been demonetized. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Mass shootings have become more American than baseball, apple pie, and Hulk Hogan's mustache. The number and frequency of mass shootings has skyrocketed over the past 40 years. According to ABC News, there have already been more mass shootings than total days in the year, and that was in September. And that's not the first time something like this has happened. The thing is, though, how you count mass shootings depends heavily on how you define mass shootings. When we think of mass shootings, we tend to think of things like the 1999 Columbine school shooting or the 2017 Las Vegas concert shooting. But ABC and CBS are using the Gun Violence Archive, which defines a mass shooting as 4 or more shot or killed, not including the shooter. That means that statistic includes drive-by shootings and gang violence. Definitions are a real problem. There isn't even an agreed-upon definition among the government agencies. According to a 2013 Department of Justice analysis of mass shootings, the FBI defined a mass shooting as any incident in which at least 4 people are murdered with a gun. But since 2013, the FBI has considered it a mass shooting if 3 or more people are killed. The number actually went down, meaning mass shootings might be the only thing in America not suffering from inflation. Mass shootings equals recession-proof. While there isn't a clear-cut definition of what makes a shooting a mass shooting, something everyone can agree on is what causes them. Yep, there's absolutely no mystery there, and no one ever argues about it. I'm obviously joking. There are almost as many factors blamed for mass shootings as there are mass shootings themselves. Guns, mental illness, lack of prayer, gender identity, video games. The violent ones, that is. Nobody sees a mass shooting and goes, "We gotta ban Stardew Valley." At least I hope they don't. Even as far back as the Columbine shooting in 1999, movies like The Matrix and musician Marilyn Manson were blamed, with the latter saying it destroyed his career. Not that he needed help ruining his career. The media is quick to point a finger at anything and everything to try and explain why a shooting occurred whenever they cover one. And covering them is a lucrative business. Former CNN anchor Brooke Baldwin says TV news companies view mass shootings as a way to make themselves money. The media covers mass shooting stories extensively when they happen, reporting on every detail they can 24/7. Then once the novelty is worn off, they suddenly move on to the next sensational story to try and attract people's attention, then rinse and repeat. It's like your Steam library. You buy the latest new game, start playing it, and before you finish, you buy the next new game. Baldwin says after a week or 10 days, the outraged public grows tired of hearing about the carnage, loss, and inaction. The audience starts to drop off, the ratings dip, and the networks worry about their bottom line. And while the journalists in the field have compassion for the victims of these tragic stories, their bosses at the networks treat the news as ratings-generating revenue sources. American viewers have a bad case of ADD, attention death disorder. But could the way the media covers mass shootings be causing even more mass shootings? I'll get into that after the break. Welcome back. We were demonetized, come on. The media's favorite thing to blame for mass shootings are gun control and mental illness. But they rarely, if ever, mention studies about how mass shootings could potentially have a contagion effect. And here I thought COVID was the worst contagion in America. The idea of a contagion effect of mass shootings stems from the observation that a mass shooting is followed by more mass shootings. Data scientist Sherry Towers examined contagion in mass killings in 2015 and concluded we find significant evidence that mass killings involving firearms are incented by similar events in the immediate past. On average, this temporary increase in probability lasts 13 days, and each incident incites at least 0.30 new incidents. But when trying to determine what could be spreading this hypothetical contagion, many have pointed to excessive news coverage of the shootings. And studies have been conducted to see if there's a possible link. Researchers Michael Jeter and J.K. Walker published a 2022 study where they looked into the idea that news coverage leads to more mass shootings. Of course, mass shootings lead to more coverage, so if that leads to more mass shootings, which leads to more coverage, which began first? It's a real chicken and the egg scenario. If both had bullet holes in them, I guess you can't make an omelet without shooting a few eggs. As a variable in Walker and Jetter's study, they used natural disasters like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and pandemics that dominated news coverage and led to less coverage of mass shootings at the time. And they found that when there was less coverage of shootings, there were actually fewer follow-up shootings. They say, our findings from using unpredictable disasters in countries closely associated with the U.S. as an exogenous variation suggest shooting news may indeed cause future mass shootings. So basically, news of shootings can cause even more shootings. Of course, this could also be a coincidence, but the evidence is pretty compelling. Because of this, experts have asked journalists to stop naming killers, showing their faces, and explaining their motivations. Criminologist Adam Langford says when the media covers killers this way, it advertises this behavior, creates a forum of competition for future killers to try and claim more victims and give them fame and attention. And Langford says fame and attention is a common motivation, explaining the Orlando nightclub shooter admitted that he was inspired by the 2013 Boston Marathon bombers. This was only possible due to the amount of media coverage the Boston bombers received. I wish the media devoted more coverage to people who deserve to be idolized, like 16-time Nathan's hot dog eating contest champion Joey Chestnut. First of all, because that's his real name, which is just cool. And second, because he holds the world record in over 50 different eating competitions. That's a real American hero. Although if people imitated him, that could lead to even more deaths than mass shootings. Langford continues.
We see these kind of terrible records being set and reset. And since Columbine, all 8 of the most lethal or deadliest mass shootings have been committed by fame seekers.
One study into media's role in mass shootings, published on the National Institutes of Health's Library of Medicine site, doesn't blame the media but says it needs to be more responsible in how it covers these occurrences. The responsibility for these acts does not reside with the media, but the media are an important vector for the spread of such behaviors. Changing the way in which the media report a mass shooting could be different given that sensationalizing a tragic event brings in both viewers and revenue, which is a powerful incentive. Yeah, that is a tough choice. Listen to the experts and try to prevent future random killings, or get higher ratings and get paid more to run Zoloft commercials. Ugh, what do I do? Gee, I wonder why an antidepressant would want to advertise on the news. Usually watching Fox and CNN 18 hours a day leaves me in a great mood. This isn't to say that the news shouldn't cover mass shootings at all, but there are more responsible ways to do it.
More than 100 researchers have joined Langford in signing on to the Don't Name Them movement petition, which asks major media to adopt new norms for covering mass killings.
While some argue that this might infringe on First Amendment rights, there still might be a compromise in focusing on the how and why. Limit details, don't use premium placements, always provide prevention resources at the end of the segment, and focus on the victims and not the shooter.
I think the only thing the news should report about mass shooters is their internet search history. Pretty sure that would make at least some of them pause, knowing they'd only be remembered as the guy who Googled how to get pudding stains out of their crotch of a furry suit. Organizations such as No Notoriety, founded by the parents of one of the victims of the 2012 Aurora Theater shooting, implore people to stop incentivizing news organizations who run these stories the way they do.
So the next time you see any media organization, print, digital, radio, or television, gratuitously leveraging the names and images of these shooters, stop watching, stop listening, stop clicking, stop liking, and stop sharing.
I won't outright say this is a solution, as mass shootings are complex and involve a variety of factors. But the fact that the media is ignoring these recommendations and requests is a bad look. Will not naming the shooters work? It's worth a try to help make sure that mass shootings are one day no longer as American as apple pie crumbs and Hulk Hogan's mustache. Seeing the way the news covers mass shootings is yet another reason why more and more people are losing faith in the media. To learn more about that, check out this video. And if you want to make sure we can keep making episodes like this despite demonetization, click that orange button to support us on Patreon. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.